Hey guys, Friday coming to you from Fort Hamilton Distillers in Industry Cities with the most incredible human beings I've met. You guys met Christopher already at Tuesday with Thomas Taste Buds, a lady you guys know from Spirits of Cairo, but we've got Tommy and we've got Alex. And we have got three amazing whiskeys that we're bringing to you to Spirits of Cairo. What the hell's going on, Alex? Talk to us, because we just got select barrels and I forgot what we're doing. Now we're going to go to defer to Alex.
So you have picked three exceptional barrels from our Brooklyn distillery. We have barrel number 17 here, which is going to be a 4-year-old New York rye whiskey made with 90% New York State rye grain, grown locally, and 10% malted barley. That's also local. It's been aged in a 25-gallon barrel, char number 3, for over 4 years. It's delicious.
So this is a 53-gallon barrel right here.
Correct.
So it's a little smaller than this, and it's aged 4 years minimum, mostly rye, a little bit of malted barley. Any corn in there whatsoever?
No corn in the mash bill. Very militant about that.
So we're going to release this, guys, on July 4th, and it's going to be called
Reveille Rye.
Reveille Rye, because of Fort Hamilton, the military, July 4th, the whole bit. We'll get into that a little bit further. Our second bottle that we decided to choose was
23.
23. Why?
Because it's delicious. It's
like when you put it in my mouth, like what did I say?
You said black tea.
Black tea.
I think, right?
Are you sure? Are you sure when you put it in my mouth I said black tea, or did I go, Alex, that's big? I don't know, what's the difference? I'm going to try a little bit.
You said...
You did say that you wanted to see this barrel go further.
Yes, so that's exactly right.
You were here. Did you see me say, how far can we go with this barrel?
You did want to see what it tasted like in years.
Gotcha. And by the way, Alec, can you just scooch a little bit? Tommy, come on out. Did you guys know? You see that belt buckle?
No, I don't think they can.
That is, you gotta walk in front there. This is a Fort Hamilton belt buckle. Like, when you're drinking this rye, you need some kind of body protection. So, we're gonna age this a little bit longer. So we're not even gonna look at releasing this for another 1, 2, 3 years. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. It's when we tested the alcohol in there, it was much higher than any barrel we've ever seen before. It's around 125 proof. We barrel at 120, and this one's just shot up. So that's made for a really interesting whiskey, and one that has a lot more aging potential as well. So I think you nailed it, and I think we're going to see a really interesting ride with this guy in the next year or two. And then I think you had mentioned maybe trying to put a barrel finish on it, potentially?
A barrel finish, I want to play around with it. There's a guy who's not here today. His name is Justin. We call him JLB. He's kind of a loser. But anyway, he normally helps us figure how we're going to finish these. So after these barrels are emptied at cask strength, you can secondarily age them in other things like wine and Pedro Jimenez and
other sherry or port or other sweet wines, from maybe someone like Herman Wiemer. Who knows? Right. There might be a bottle on the shelf at Tom's store.
And what would those things do to this? Would it add to the complexity? Would it give it more sweetness, richness? What do you think?
All of the above. It'll play off some of the notes, like Tom found the black tea and kind of dried fruit character. It'll help accentuate those notes. It'll add some sweetness. It'll add some richness and texture and body. It'll really kind of just amp up everything that's already in the bottle. So it'll really give you a lot more complexity and character.
It's really great stuff. So we've got our 2 barrels that we really, really love. Our third one we chose because I was bullied. They beat me up. Not really. Explain why we chose our third one.
So we have a new concept that we're releasing this year, which is going to be, we sourced some barrels from other interesting distilleries around America, and we're offering people the opportunity to try them and bottle them however they see fit. And in this case, this is a high rye bourbon that we found.
Now, what is truly a high rye bourbon? So for you guys that don't understand the nuances of whiskeys, you have American whiskeys, ryes, and bourbons. What is a high rye bourbon?
So bourbon has to be at least 50% corn, and the rest of the mash bill can be other grains, typically rye and malted barley. Rye generally makes up 10 to 20% of a bourbon mash bill. So most of the bourbons you see on the shelf, it's in that 10 to 20% range. In this case, this is a 36% rye, which is a much higher proportion of rye than you normally find in a bourbon.
And this is all New York rye? Northern or Canadian or?
It's
just northern
rye.
Gotcha.
The corn is coming from just America. It's American corn.
We got American corn!
Yeah. So,
Not the Nazi corn or the communist corn. American corn. Anyway.
That's right. So what that means is, in practice, is that the rye grain plays a slightly larger role in the flavor profile than you normally find in a bourbon. So you get a bit more structure, a bit more spice behind it, and some super interesting flavor profiles. And I think, for my money, I think that I'm a rye pervert. I've been accused of that before. So
have you been on Dateline NBC with Chris Hansen? I have. I don't want to admit that, but Chris Hansen has been to my house. Just say.
Yeah, he hasn't called me yet.
I think Tommy too, because Tommy's cracking up over there. So you're a whiskey drinker. We're all whiskey drinkers. So in a really quick synopsis, what are the three differences in the flavor profiles, the nuances that make each one of these so individual, and why you may or may not want to pick up a bottle of these? Like, what would draw you to 1, 2, or 3?
So I think that the first barrel that you picked is a fantastic rye for a bourbon drinker who's looking to dip their toe into the rye market and see what all the fuss is about, because rye has become super popular again.
Come on.
Exactly. It had a ton of caramel and deep, rich cocoa notes. Texturally speaking, the body, the structure is very large. It has a lot of weight and heft and a rich mouthfeel that really coats the inside of your mouth.
The mouthfeel is the most important part of whiskey drinking.
True. So when you drink bourbon, corn whiskey, you generally get like a rounder, richer effect because the corn is sweeter than the rye grain. But in this case, we've got this wonderful balance between the rye grain and the sweetness that we're pulling from the barrel itself, because it's a char-3 barrel, which is giving us notes of caramel, toffee, and those.
Are all of these char-3?
They are all char-3 barrels.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, there are 3 different barrel sizes. So this guy that's coming out on July the 4th, that's a 25-gallon barrel. And then we have the middle barrel, the one that we're aging for another couple of years, is a 30-gallon barrel. And the larger the barrel, in theory, the longer you can age. So it does make sense that we're going to see some more time on that 30-gallon barrel.
And Alex, just on the inverse of that, the smaller the barrel, I'm looking at the 3 bottles here together, the smaller the barrel, would that also mean the more concentrated both the color and the flavor would be?
Yes, in a shorter period of time, yes, it would.
So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a hint over here. If you look at these barrel bottles here, you can see, if you're at home, a little bit of difference, I hope you guys can see, on the color of these bottles. And the char, for those of you that don't know, it's basically how they cook the barrel over fire. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, all these other things. We can go into that later. Your cooperage on all of these, do they change at all?
They do, yes. The 25-gallon we're getting from Kelvin Cooperage in Kentucky. 30 gallons we're getting from Barrel Mill in Minnesota. And then the 53s are from Independent State Company in Louisville.
Completely different creatures, amazingly different creatures,
Yeah.
which I absolutely love. Here, can you bring that up and show everybody? So here is a char number 3, you said?
Yes.
So basically, the barrel is cooked. Tommy, can you show them the line of how the whiskey bleeds into the barrel? So the whiskey, if you want to take this on, when the whiskey bleeds into the barrel, what happens with the nuances, the flavors, the effects?
So, as you can see, the barrel's been burnt on the inside. But what that means is that this layer is burnt, and that's what gives us this incredible color. It's all natural. There's no coloring added, there's no additives.
Are there whiskeys out there that add caramelized coloring?
Yes.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
not bourbons and not ryes.
Okay.
Lower grades of whiskey.
Lower, the
Yeah.
crappy things.
Exactly, the crappy stuff.
Yeah, like Fireball, but I'm not
Yeah,
saying
like,
any.
exactly
I'm
like Fireball.
I'm not
Not mentioning any names,
We're not
but it's
mentioning any
definitely
names.
Fireball.
Okay, we're there. It's all good.
Yeah, and so as you can see, because this is burnt, as you move through the layer of the barrel, the grain goes from toasted and caramelized down to raw on the outside. And so you can see how far the whiskey itself has leached into the barrel here. And that's that line shows that it's actually gone in here. It's picked up the toasted sugars and vanillins and other naturally occurring flavors in there, and then it pulls it back into the barrel, and that becomes a part of the flavor profile.
What does that do to whiskeys in general?
It gives them flavor, and it gives them color, and that's what you're looking for. It also has a it reduces odor, right? Just like all charcoal filtration does. Like you put something in a Brita water filter, it cleans it out a little bit. So you do get that sort of filtration process.
So it's
happening.
a fish filter, so you don't have funky fish water. That's basically what's happening.
Yes, it's
here.
fancy fish filter. It does a kind of filtration process. Thank you. A filtration process, but then really most importantly, giving it color and that amazing flavor that we look for in whiskies. And the longer you leave it in a barrel, the darker the color, the richer, the more intense the flavors. Now there can be a downside to that too. If you leave it in the barrel for too long, it tastes, your whiskey can taste just like chewing on, well, one of these basically.
Just a piece of wood,
Exactly.
a burnt piece of wood.
Just a big woody mess. You lose all the distinctive like citrusy notes and dried fruit notes and all those beautiful flavors that we look for when we're tasting good whiskey.
So, Alex, what's your background in whiskey? Because when Christopher came on board, he's like, I want you to meet this really cool dude, Alex. He's gonna come up and talk to you, and he knows whiskey, and I'm like, another whiskey person. I'm not a fan of people who think they know whiskeys, but when Alex came in and told me his pedigree of what he was doing, what is your background?
Well, I got into this business through making cocktails originally with Sacha Petrasky and the Milk and Honey crowd that sort of were the keepers of the renaissance of the cocktails, the classic cocktail renaissance that we see today. So they kind of put Manhattans and Old Fashions and Sazeracs and Boulevardiers back on the map. Whereas prior to 1998 when he opened Milk and Honey, it was all about sour mix and cosmopolitans and pink drinks, right? So they really went back and found the original recipes for the classic American cocktails, which is an amazing part of the American cultural history. So I learned from those guys how to make those cocktails and ultimately realized that rye whiskey was the base for all these cocktails because rye is the original whiskey of America, and that's what all the settlers were drinking before bourbon was really invented and prohibition had wiped it out.
So should we do a whole new video later on down the line
Yeah.
of why rye was the reason why America had an American grain whiskey? Rye was our true first whiskey, basically.
It was.
It wasn't bourbon.
Nope.
It wasn't American whiskey.
You welcome the release of the first item.
I would love for you guys to come down and understand why rye is so important in American economics, American geographics, Old Dominion, what it means, because many people just think rye is a grain, but it's an institution. It's been part of America for hundreds of years, and we've fallen off track from that.
You have indeed, but we're bringing it back, and you're helping, and you can help too.
But you're making it happen. What other distilleries have you made recognized? What have you done to boom, make the world a better place?
So after my cocktailing situation, I ended up opening a distillery in Brooklyn called Widow Jane as the director of sales, developed that brand, took them through distribution out the back of a Honda, just going around and hand
Was
selling
it a Honda
bottles.
Civic or was it a
It was-
SUV
It
or
was a Honda Pilot.
Giselle? Pilot?
Yeah,
Okay. I go way, way back to like the VW Fox. Anyway, that's a different story.
that's another video.
That's another video.
Took them through distribution, did all the hard work, and then decided I was going to quit and launch my own company. And that's how Fort Hamilton kind of came to pass. And I've been making whiskey now for the last 5 years, very slowly bringing it to market, but trying to get my whiskey older and sexier.
This is a sexy, beautiful, wonderful barrel. Where are you located and why should people come visit you? Because this is a sexy, amazing, brilliant, full-bodied, aromatic,
Keep talking.
well done, Christopher, help me out here.
Hey, it's a polished product that it's fun, it's exciting, it's local for. I mean, it's a great product that is accessible to all of us.
If you're looking for well-versed, if you are a bourbon lover, if you're a rye lover, if you're just starting out, this is definitely where you need to go.
Tommy, come on.
I work for Alex because his whiskey is smooth and delicious.
This is something everyone needs in their portfolio. Bar managers, restaurant managers, liquor stores, you cannot put on your shelf Four Roses, Elijah Craig, Evan Williams, and everything else without Fort Hamilton being a New York liquor store or on-premise licensed restaurant or bar. This is a craft whiskey you must have in your facility.
I appreciate that. And
How can we reach out and get this? I mean, we can buy barrels, but how can they just get your standard 80 proof off the
Well, you know, it's available from our website, obviously, but we like our distributor, Skurnik. That fella who works
This is
for them
Skurnik guy
is our
in
man. So Skurnik, the wonderful distributor that we work with in 7 states now, we have for all the Fort Hamilton SKUs are available through them, and we like you to do business with them whenever possible. And then you can come and visit us in Brooklyn at Industry City in Sunset Park, right on the Brooklyn waterfront overlooking New York Harbor. Our distillery and tasting room are open, so come on down.
Where
Give us a
is
visit.
Industry City specific? It's on 36th Street.
We are on 6834th Street. So
Okay,
34th
so
Street, between 2nd and 3rd Avenue.
34. So you're going to come up 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn, if you guys are familiar with the Gowanus. Building number 6 on 34th Street. You need to be here. This is one of the best things. I just bought 3 single barrels. You cannot get a better whiskey than this. Alex is amazing. And the takeaway, guys, big takeaway here.
Taking this bottle.
Yeah, yeah, we're taking the whiskey.
The big takeaway. What are we aging for the next couple of years? We're going to revisit.
Barrel 23, which is going to be a beast.
Barrel 23
Beast now.
is going to
It
be
is.
a monster. What's the proof on it?
125.
125 and change. It's over 125.
So what I'm going to offer to the audience, you guys write in, text, email, whatever. Let us know. Why don't you come down to Industry Cities, meet Alex, try a sample of our waiting, W-A-D, waiting, bourbons, whiskeys, and so forth. Let us know what you think it should be finished in. You may be able to name the whiskey. What do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea.
It's a great
probably
idea.
safer than you naming it.
Understatement of the century.
Alex has been amazing.
Thank you
Tommy,
for coming down today.
Elena, Christopher, thank you guys for viewing Fort Hamilton.
First release July 4th.
That dude over here, rock star.